Hey guys, in today's video you will learn an unbelievable story of a man who literally went through death. He lost his wife and baby son in a brutal accident, floated outside his own body, and received a shocking revelation about what happens on the other side. What he saw in that light will challenge everything you believe about life, death, and eternal love. So before we dive into this breathtaking journey, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss any impactful content like this. Get ready to have your mind and heart turned inside out. My name is Callahan Thorne, and this is the story that forever changed my understanding of life and what lies beyond it. I was born and raised in Aspen, Colorado, the son of farmers, where I learned the value of hard work and simplicity at an early age. At 38, I saw my life as a pragmatic path. Dedicated husband to Eve for a decade, father of 2 boys full of energy and curiosity, always focused on daily responsibilities and tangible goals. Today I share this story to show that there are subtle forces, intuitions, lights, invisible loves, capable of guiding our steps even in the darkest moments. What you are about to read is the narrative of how an instant behind the wheel, a brief lapse of attention, took me to the threshold between this world and another, and how the choice made on that threshold redefined everything I thought I knew about pain, forgiveness, and redemption. It was a bright Easter morning, with fresh mountain air mixed with the sweet smell of pine trees freshly wet from the frost melting in the sun. In the car seat, Spencer talked non-stop about the chocolate eggs he had found, pointing to each tree we passed as if it were hiding treasure. Bo, still drowsy, rested peacefully in his booster seat, his little fingers curled into fists as if holding dreams that only he knew. Eve was next to me, smiling as she adjusted her backpack on the back of the seat, her eyes shining with the simple happiness of a family holiday. We talked about the lunch we were having with her parents, a celebration that had been full of laughter, old stories, and the comforting warmth of heartfelt hugs. As I started the car and adjusted the rearview mirror, I felt the weight of days of work piling up in my mind, but also a silent gratitude for that moment, for those 4 hearts beating together on the road. As we started to pull out of Eve's parents' driveway, something changed in the air beside me. Eve raised her hand gently and asked me to stop the car. His voice, usually calm, now carried such a subtle urgency that I almost went unnoticed. "Wait just a moment," she said, looking out the window with wet eyes, not with sadness, but with something I would only understand later. Intrigued, I parked on the side of the gravel road as I watched Eve climb out of the car. She ran towards her parents, who were waiting for her on the porch with welcoming smiles. I approached the steering wheel with restrained impatience. The clock marked the beginning of a working day, and I knew I would miss part of it. Still, I was overcome by the scene. Eve wrapped her parents in a long hug, pressing them against her as if she wanted to record every detail of that moment in her memory. When she finally returned to the car, her face lit up with a peaceful smile. I felt something new awaken within me, a mixture of wonder and reverence for her intuition. In that brief gesture there was more than goodbye. There was deep love, quiet wisdom, and perhaps a foreboding of what was to come. The road in front of us was narrow and wound between tall pines, their canopies filtering the morning light in dancing patterns across the asphalt. As I drove, my thoughts returned to the work ahead, the unanswered emails and the next day's meetings. Spencer continued his animated conversation behind me, laughing when I pretended to chase him in the rearview mirror. Bo murmured something, indistinctly, his serene little face lighting up my heart. It was in that moment, in the brief second that I glanced in the rearview mirror to meet Spencer's gaze, that I completely lost control. The car slid to the right, as if pulled by an invisible force. I instinctively turned the steering wheel to the left, but the friction between the tire and the gravel betrayed my intention. The vehicle rolled over once, then again, until the world was a blur of twisted steel and shattered glass. Time seemed to slow down as the car rolled down the shoulder. Each twist threw my body against the seatbelt, the impact hammering my bones like a drum. Then everything went dark. As the darkness gave way to distant sounds, Spencer's agonized cry, the crunch of metal settling on the asphalt, and the acrid smell of gasoline. I felt a sharp tingling spread through my body. I tried to move my arms, but every muscle burned with pain. My thoughts struggled to order reality. Eve and Beau were no longer with me. The silence in their seats on the bench was deafening. Broken glass glistened like broken crystals in the sunlight streaming through the car's dented roof. The first vision I saw was of Spencer, lying in the back seat, crying and trying to pull himself up through the shrapnel. My instinct was to reach for him, but I found I couldn't even turn my head without feeling a searing tug in my abdomen. The strong smell of fuel mixed with the distant sound of approaching sirens. I felt my lungs fill with air with difficulty, as if each breath was a conscious effort not to give in to unconsciousness. The pain exploded in waves. Broken bones, torn flesh, ruptured internal organs. But there was something more terrifying. The emptiness left by the absence of two presences I loved more than anything. Then, on the threshold between despair and blackout, I felt something strange happen. The pain began to dissipate like fog in the sun. My body felt weightless, almost ethereal, and a deep calm replaced the chaos around me. It was the first sign that I wasn't just injured. I was about to cross an invisible boundary between life and death. As everything around me moved at a frantic pace, sirens, the voices of rescuers, the tinkling of windows, I felt my conscious self slip out of my body. It was like emerging from a heavy cocoon, leaving pain and gravity behind. I floated a few feet above the scene of the accident, seeing my shattered body strapped into a seatbelt, but feeling inexplicably calm, free from physical torture. The light appeared like a soft dawn behind the trees, not blinding, but welcoming, like an invisible embrace that enveloped my essence. And then I saw her, Eve, walking toward me on that golden carpet of light. She was perfect, without any sign of the wounds that had taken her life minutes before. Her face radiated love and peace, and her eyes shone with a compassion so deep that it made me feel simultaneously safe and exposed, as if she saw every fragment of my soul. Speechless, I felt its crystal-clear message. I couldn't stay there. Her gentle gaze offered me a clear choice: remain in that place of eternal peace beside her, or return to her broken body to fulfill a greater purpose, to care for Spencer. My heart was torn between the desire to remain in that state of absolute serenity and the earthly responsibility that pulled me back. Finally, amid silent tears that would never spill onto my physical face, I made the hardest choice of my life. As I regained consciousness in the trauma center, I became aware of a frenzy of voices and rapid movements around me. Professionals at work, machines beeping, surgical lights cutting through the darkness of my thoughts. But there was something that didn't belong in that clinical chaos. A soft, luminous stillness hovering above me. I later discovered from Dr. Serena Caldwell and a nurse that they had both seen an ethereal female figure floating above my gurney, the presence of my wife, Eve. According to Dr. Caldwell, as they rushed into the operating room, they were surprised by the sight of Eve hovering serenely in the air, her perfectly defined features illuminated by a soft aura. She didn't speak out loud, but she communicated deep gratitude through a shared feeling that enveloped them, a silent thanks for the effort to save him. The nurse described the same feeling of peace, as if everyone in the room was touched by a wave of love that transcended words. No medical equipment captured that presence. No vital signs indicated its existence. Even so, both professionals were unanimous in stating that they witnessed something inexplicable, something that defied all scientific logic. For them, that manifestation not only confirmed that I had had an experience beyond death, but also offered them a glimpse that love, even after physical loss, remains active, conscious, and capable of interacting with the world of the living. As I struggled with searing pain and uncertainty about my future, that vision planted a seed of hope in me. If love can overcome the barriers of death, then perhaps I could survive, not just physically but spiritually, to honor the promise I made to my family. Over the next few weeks, my body struggled to rebuild itself while my mind alternated between painful wakefulness and a sleep so deep it seemed to float beyond the physical confines of the hospital. One of those nights, too exhausted to even feel the pain that consumed me, my consciousness slipped out of my fragile body again. This time there was no urgency or shock. I awoke to a space bathed in soft light, yet intense enough to reveal indescribable colors and textures. All around me was a tactile sensation of ethereal solidity beneath my feet, as if I were running on grass made of pure energy. To my left, a luminous corridor stretched infinitely. In front of me, a cradle adorned with filigrees of light hovered on a carpet of golden mist. I walked over to it and, looking inside, found Bo, my 14-month-old son, sleeping peacefully, his every breath reverberating pure love within me. Before I could fully absorb the vision, I felt a powerful presence approach us, enveloping us like a divine embrace. The regret and guilt I carried came in waves, crushing my chest with memories of seconds I could never recover. Amidst the unshed tears, I wished more than anything to be forgiven. Then I felt invisible arms wrap around me and Bo's essence, in a hug that transcended any physical sensation. A soft voice without articulate words penetrated my mind. There is nothing to forgive. Everything is in perfect order. The world opened up in a life review. Childhood scenes, moments of pain, choices and consequences passed before me not as judgments but as fundamental lessons that shaped who I was. Each mistake turned out to be an opportunity for growth. Every loss, a door to a deeper love. At the height of this vision, I was presented with the possibility of handing Bo back, not as an abandonment, but as an act of trust in the divine order that governs all things. With a heavy heart, I kissed her luminous forehead and felt acceptance release the last vestige of guilt within me. In the blink of an eye, my consciousness returned to the aching body on the hospital bed. But something had changed irreversibly. I was no longer the same wounded, guilt-ridden man who had walked in there. I had been restored by an unconditional love that would now guide every step of my path. Upon returning to my body, I was immediately assaulted by the most intense physical pain I had ever known. Fractured bones, torn muscles, a searing void where my left leg had once been. Every movement was a brutal reminder of the price paid to stay alive. I was transferred from a stretcher to a wheelchair, surrounded by nurses and doctors who helped me with delicacy and urgency. The sound of beeping machines mixed with the distant murmur of unspoken prayers. Over the next few weeks, I underwent multiple surgeries and a grueling rehabilitation process. Every morning, he woke up with his body in spasms of pain, but also with the vivid memory of that divine hug he had received. Grief for the loss of Eve and Bo weighed in my chest like lead, while Spencer, my 7-year-old son, struggled to understand the sudden absence of his mother and younger brother. Reuniting with Spencer at my brother's house was simultaneously devastating and redemptive. When he saw me arriving in a wheelchair, his eyes widened with concern, but they soon turned to pure joy. He ran to me and threw himself into my lap, shouting, "Dad, even though you're just a puddle of blood, I still love you." That hug, although painful for my newly operated body, dissolved something inside me. There, in that boy's warm chest, I found the strength to move forward. As the months passed, I learned to deal with my new physical limitations and face grief without succumbing to despair. Every little bit of progress, the first step with a prosthetic, Spencer's first genuine smile after a difficult night, became a monumental victory. My faith in intuitions, the power of love, and the capacity for human resilience have become deeply rooted in my heart. Experience has taught me that life is not a test to be passed, but a precious gift to be experienced in each moment. I learned that intuitions, those little inner whispers that we often ignore, are invitations from the heart and the universe to act with love and care. Today, when I feel that familiar pang of anxiety or anger, I choose to see it as a sign that I am alive, capable of feeling deeply, rather than a failure to be condemned. I realize that love transcends death. It remains active, conscious and available to support us in moments of greatest darkness. This unconditional love does not judge mistakes but celebrates learnings, transforming guilt into compassion, regret into growth. The connection between all people is real and palpable. We are fragments of the same light that pulses through each act of kindness, each sincere hug, each smile shared with a stranger. Today I teach my son Spencer not just to take physical steps, but to walk through life with gratitude and presence. I share with him the urgency of saying I love you without waiting for special occasions, of offering help without hesitation, and of seeing others as part of oneself. My journey did not end on the cold asphalt of that road. It was reborn there, in that moment of choice between death and life, and continues to unfold with each conscious breath. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this story, it's simple but transformative. Live as if each day were a unique gift. Allow yourself to listen to your intuition and embrace life and people with the most genuine love your heart can offer. If you liked this beautiful spiritual testimony, leave a like, comment on your impressions, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to activate the notification bell to watch each new video and help us spread this message to a greater number of people. Until next time.